Welcome back, PC Gamers, to the PC Gamer Chat Log. I am your associate editor, Lauren Morton,
And hey, I am your features producer, Mollie Taylor.
And this week we're going to be talking to Chris Livingston, our chief crafting games man, expert in chopping trees, building stuff, putting things together. He's played all the early access survival crafting games. So we're going to be chatting with him about why every game has crafting now. Do they really all need crafting? Do we actually like when they all have crafting? But first, this week, Mollie, what did you do last week?
Yeah, so not a lot, funnily enough. I had one of those weeks where I was just so tired. It's just one of those weeks where I just wanted to lie in bed and watch YouTube all day. I watched a lot of Minecraft long plays. They're like these like ASMR-y almost, like long plays of people playing Minecraft. So, you know, just like that gentle like mining of wood and stone. But I did play a little bit. I actually busted out my PlayStation 3 for the first time in a long time. Yeah, I had a real hankering to play Soul Calibur 2 HD. Me and my boyfriend were like huge Soul Calibur fans. We met through we didn't meet through a Soul Calibur tournament, but we got to know each other very well through a Soul Calibur tournament. So we both love it. And we were like, shall we play? And then it just resulted in me giving up very quickly, passing him the controller and watching him play because he's much better at the game than I am. So I had a little bit of a step away from games this week for the most part, a little bit of a relaxed one. What about you?
I also kind of had a low-key gaming week. I played one thing, and then one thing I watched a lot of. The thing I watched a lot of my friends play together was, we'll see if you get this one, Rural Royale game.
A what?
Rural Royale game.
Oh, Hunt Showdown?
Yes, Hunt Showdown. Nice. We have like a couple big defenders of Hunt Showdown on the team. I think editor-in-chief for the US, Evan, and one of our writers, Morgan Park, are also very into Hunt Showdown.
Jacob loves it as well.
Jacob too?
Yeah, senior hardware. Jacob on the UK side, he loves Hunt Showdown as well.
So it's PvPvE extraction, like I think it's set in a bayou. It's like revolvers, pistols, 6-shooter type stuff, and there's like gnarly monsters and stuff. Anyway, I didn't play it myself. I just watched my friends play a ton of it together through Discord, and they nearly got me into it. They were like, Lauren, this one is more like a little stealthy, a little strategy. It's like not all FPS Twitch skills. And I was like, but I didn't go for it yet. They may yet talk me into it if they haven't gotten to the point where they're like feeling too sweaty about it. We'll see. But so I watched a lot of that sort of in the background while I was doing other stuff. And then the thing I actually played, you'll never get this, so I'm just going to tell you what it is.
That's why I just told you about Soul Calibur.
It's just called King of the Castle, and it's a party game type thing, sort of like, what am I thinking of? Like Jackbox, right? Where you can just like one person has it, and then everybody else like signs into the browser and joins a game. And I think there's a Twitch extension for it too. Anyway, it's a party game thing where like one person's the monarch and they're trying to like survive long enough to put their heir on the throne, and you as like these scheming nobles of like other parts of the country are trying to put your candidate for heir on the throne. And so you're all working against each other's stats. It's a stat game where like your monarch has like authority and a treasury, and like you'll vote on stuff, and you have like stats for your military and your faith and your morale. And every time you guys like vote on policies or like events that pop up, it'll affect everybody's stats, and you're trying to like achieve certain things for your schemes to succeed. It was a good time. It was fun. It was like a little bit longer than I thought. I feel like we played like a 30-minute round before it was all said and done. And it was a little more like, not table talky, but like we knew what each other's schemes were. We knew like what the other teams were like trying to raise and lower in their stats. And I kind of expected it to be a little more like hidden info, but it was a good time.
I was going to say, was it fun? Would you do it
Yeah,
again?
it was fun. I would try it again for sure. Because by the end of it, we actually like stupidly allowed the Monarch to win. Like we could have voted him to lose. Like we really had him in the corner, and then we were so busy fighting amongst ourselves that we allowed him to win instead.
Oh my goodness.
Foolish, absolutely foolish. So yeah, that was a good time. That's what I did last week. And now the two of us are going to head over to talk to Chris about crafting games. And as a note, when we talked, Sons of the Forest was not quite out yet, which Chris mentions, and it is now, has been out for a little bit. And I don't think the crafting is like the premier part of Sons of the Forest, honestly. Like the combining of things. I think it's definitely more about like the action and like the mystery. And then there's also a building system in the crafting, but I feel like you're collecting and like gathering existing weapons more than you're crafting new ones for most of the game, actually. So not being able to talk about that one, I don't think that was a huge loss. So anyway, we'll get into it with Chris to talk about crafting.
Hi.
So today we are all going to be talking about crafting games, which is a topic that comes up in big group meetings. Sometimes someone brings up whether a game should or shouldn't have crafting because inevitably too many games have crafting lately. I think maybe we can agree on that. Even Chris, who plays so many crafting games. So we brought him in as one of our foremost crafting game players. And me, another one of our big crafting game people. And Mollie, as I think probably someone who's been subjected to the crafting dominance in maybe some of your own genres. So I'm very apathetic. And I'm here with Mollie, and we brought Chris with us. And Chris, feel free to introduce yourself real quick as Mr. Crafting, or more officially.
Hi, I'm Mr. Crafting. I'm Chris Livingston. I do play a lot of survival games, base building games, colony games. Open world, build a base, adventure, but also chop down a lot of trees games. So I guess I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I've done it a lot.
You've clocked your 1,000 hours and then some.
Yeah.
Or 10,000.
Yeah.
I just remember as I was pulling stuff together. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah, like I play a lot of crafting games. I enjoy many of them. But yeah, there has been, crafting has sort of seeped its way into games often that they probably shouldn't have crafting. So definitely comes up from time to time.
As I was pulling stuff together for this, one of my favorites of yours, Chris, is when you ranked the chopping down of trees in a bunch of survival crafting games. And I read the intro of that and I laugh because you're like already at that point resigned to the fact that a new early access survival game is coming out. And then everybody on the team looks to you to say, Chris, will you play it? And the year that you wrote that was the year 2017, which has been a few years. And I feel like that is still what happens when a new crafting survival game launches.
Yeah, that reminds me that I kind of, when it comes to early access survival games, like it's kind of a roller coaster in terms of, oh, I'm really into this. I want to play a bunch of them. And then I hit this point where it's like, I never want to chop down a tree or mine for ore or build an axe out of a stick and a rock. And it just, I reach a burnout point, and it always comes back around. I always get back into it. But yeah, I think it had been a busy time of, having morning meetings at PC Gamer. Someone notices an early access game, and everyone says, "Chris, go play that." And I think I was just done, and so I furiously ranked chopping down trees in games because I was just so sick of it. Yeah. So yeah, it does get to me from time to time.
The bitter, the sweet. So I feel like maybe I misattribute this because it's something I'm personally experienced with. But Mollie, I know Minecraft is sort of your touchstone for crafting games too. And I feel like that's when like capital C crafting that we know of it right now started. Obviously, turn resources into gear existed long before that. But like, do you guys remember first playing Minecraft and how you felt about like the way that the crafting was in that one? I remember it feeling really novel at the time, and I don't remember if that was just me or that's how everybody was feeling.
I was. I can't remember how old I was when Minecraft came out.
You'd have been in like
I was
high
in school
school-ish.
when Minecraft
Yeah.
came out. Yeah, as I say, I think I was like 15 when like Minecraft first came onto my radar, and it was on the Xbox 360 as well. It wasn't on PlayStation. It was like just when it had launched on the 360, and I was playing with my boyfriend at the time, and I remember thinking like, oh, this game is like really neat. And obviously it was a lot more simple back then as well. There was a lot less to mine and craft, but I really liked it. I liked that it was like, oh, let me chop down a tree and then make planks and then make house. It was like a really nice sort of, like, it flowed really well, I think. I remember just enjoying the simplicity of it at the time.
Chris, did you play early Minecraft?
Yeah, it was. I did play early Minecraft. It was kind of neat how, like, I think one of the first things I really remember was, if you wanted to craft something but didn't know the recipe, you could sort of guess because, if you wanted to make a sword, you would put the handle, which was like a block of wood, and then, the metal parts in the shape of a sword, and it kind of functioned like that, which was kind of novel. It kind of, the thing you're picturing in your head fits into the grid that way, which is really clever. And I think also it was like, unlike a lot of games, it was like, hey, do you want to carry 10 million pounds of rocks in your pants? Like, go ahead. Here's a huge honking inventory. You don't really have to think about, it does run out eventually, but it's like, sure, carry a mountain. Yeah, just, carry as much as you want, and, not constantly throwing roadblocks in your way when you want to craft and build stuff. So, I think those things really stuck out to me.
Yeah,
if you do have too much shit, just throw it on the floor and pick it up within 5 minutes. I think I don't know if that despawn timer has changed now, but I remember at the time it was. Is it still 5 minutes?
I don't remember how long it is, but you still can definitely chuck stuff around and pick it back up.
Yeah, it's like, leave it on the floor and then come and pick it back up in like a couple minutes, and it's fine. Like, that's what I really liked about it. I think there still is like a really nice sense of freedom to it.
It was the like creating things, like Chris said, in the shape of the thing that it's supposed to be, that I remember thinking like, oh, of course, that's so cool. It's like a little puzzle. Like, you have to learn what the thing's supposed to look like and put the stuff in the grid. And that was so neat that it was like I don't know if I want to call it a mini game. It's not quite on the level of like a clicking buttons in a certain way mini game, but it actually made you think about stuff. And after Minecraft, it turned into this like, oh, gamers like crafting. Games should have crafting in them. And nobody really kept the puzzle bit of it, which surprised me. We just got
Xbox
many
didn't have that.
games. Oh, that's right. It was different on Xbox.
Yeah, Xbox just like, hey, you want door? Yeah, it's like, you want the door? Here, have the door. And it was just like, so I have never learned how to make a single thing. Like, by actually placing the materials. I could not tell you how to make anything. I could probably make planks, because that's literally just putting the wood in there. And that's all I can make. I could not make anything else.
I forgot that's how the Xbox interface was, but you're so right. You didn't.
I had no idea. Recipes. I thought they were. Oh, that's a very stripped down version. I think you're missing a lot on Xbox then. Although maybe I guess it's easier.
Yeah, I think eventually they added it back into the console versions, and now the PC version has the simplified stuff as well. So I think it's both ways now. But when it first came out, you couldn't place all the blocks yourself.
Yeah, that's what seems so cool about it to me, because now that's what so many crafting games have, is like Chris said, you go chop the trees, you mine the ore, you get all the resources, and they're in your inventory. And then in most games, then you go into an interface and you click the thing that you want, and resources and inventory become the thing that you want instead. And I miss the gamey part of it. And Chris, you had some thoughts on like what actually makes good crafting, and I don't know if that was one of them or not.
I think, I guess I never really thought of Minecraft's crafting as a puzzle, though that does totally make sense to me. It was a sort of logic. As long as a recipe had some sort of logic to it, like I think I appreciated it, which often you don't really see. So to me, like Minecraft was like, oh yeah, I put the things in the shape of the thing, and maybe that'll produce what I want, and it's just sort of like a logic system, and like that's one of the things that I like when a crafting recipe like just makes either logical sense or matches kind of in my head what I kind of imagine it should be. Um, like there was one game, and I think I'm not gonna name it because I really didn't like it, but I like needed to craft sticks, and I finally discovered that the recipe for one stick was 5 logs, and I was trying to be like, wait, how 5 logs to make one stick? Like that doesn't make sense in a bunch of different ways. Like a stick is smaller than a log, so at least it should be 1 to 1. But then what are 5 logs doing? How am I making them into one stick? It was terrible. So that kind of thing where it's like you discover a crafting recipe and it's like this doesn't make any sense at all. Like immediately kind of turns me off it. So yeah, like Minecraft. Minecraft made a lot of sense. Not necessarily real logical sense, but it worked in your head, and once you kind of understood where it was coming from, it was kind of easier to figure out how to craft other stuff. Yeah. And I do see that honestly a lot of crafting games where it's like, oh, I need to make the head of an axe, and it's like you need 5 metal ingots. I'm like, what? 5 metal ingots is like 200 pounds of metal. What am I doing that I need that much metal? Those are the kind of things that I immediately turn me off a crafting system. It just seems like you're making me do way more than I need to do. It's fine if it's something that requires that much metal, I'll happily do it. But if it's for something small, like the head of a spear, and I'm using half a mountain worth of ore to smelt it into one spear point, like no, I'm gonna nope out of that pretty quickly.
You also said substitutions were like a big A plus, right?
Yeah, like that'll immediately win me over. If there's more than one way to make something, if a recipe allows you to substitute in other resources or other items. I was thinking about this game called Scum. It's like a open world survival. It's like Daisy, but somehow even like more brutal. But I was, scrabbling around. I was trying to make a tent. I don't think it was to sleep in. I think it was like to store things in. But the tent, I don't remember the exact recipe, but it was like, you need sticks to hold it up. You need some kind of fabric, like a tarp. And then you need rope, to tie the stakes down or whatever. And I didn't have rope, but in the menu where the rope would be, there was a little arrow, and you could click through it to see what other resources you had that could fill in for rope. So if you had an electrical cable, if you had some wire, even if you had sewing thread, you could substitute in that for rope. And a lot of times it would take more more units. Like if you needed one rope, you would need like 10 spools of thread, but it still allowed you to substitute stuff. So rarely you would be in a situation where it's like, oh, now I have to look through this randomized world for rope and hope that the RNG gives me a rope. This would be like, hey, you have something that's sort of like rope, you can use that. And I think that's like, it's not, I do see that in other games. But it's not always there, and I always kind of appreciate it because it really feels like, in a survival game, like, so you don't have rope, you're going to have to do something else. You're going to have to, improvise. And I like kind of a crafting system that lets you improvise, and, it really feels like DIY. Like if you're at home and you're cooking something and you're out of an ingredient, you might substitute something else in. So I really like when you can do that in a crafting system.
Yeah, I think like Fallout 4 and 76 were like that too. Letting you substitute in like different adhesives or different like types of metals that like worked in different recipes, right?
Yeah, I think like tape is an adhesive, and glue, and I don't know, other stuff that can all provide you with the same kind of resource. So it's not like, oh crap, I need to find this one item in a bunch of randomized loot chests that can take hours. Yeah.
Yeah, Fallout 4 and
That's pretty cool.
76 are one of those ones that I was like, I don't know if it needs crafting. I don't know if I loved that it had a crafting system. Like what they did with it, I feel like was pretty decent. Like I like the building system, and it was nice that you could like have many different kinds of junk become different things, but I kind of didn't want to be just collecting junk all the time out in the wasteland. And I wonder if we have other ones that like, especially Mollie, if you've run into games that are like in your genres, you're like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to be crafting?
It's like I was trying to think about this, and I don't know if it's just I just actively repress any form of crafting that I have to experience, because I feel like I'm very apathetic to a crafting system. I feel like if it's in the game, I will deal with it. And I don't particularly care if it is in it. Like, I'm not like, oh my god, this is a really good crafting system. But I guess I will notice when it's kind of bullshit. I guess in like the JRPG realm, there's the Atelier series. I don't know how you pronounce that word.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I've never said that word out loud in my life.
Atelier is accepted. I think it might be Atelier, but
Atelier.
I call it Atelier.
Atelier series has crafting in it. I played a couple of those games, and I actually quite enjoyed the crafting in that, because that's sort of the point. Is it's like a cross between crafting and JRPG, and I think that makes sense in the context of it. But I just think as a system, I don't go looking for it. Right? I think it is just, if it's there, it's there, right? But I think you're right. I think it wasn't needed in Fallout 4. And like I think about the tiny bits of stuff you could do in Skyrim as well. And I thought that was kind of fun. Like you could do little things in Skyrim. It wasn't necessarily crafting, but it was like, when you would make leather out of hide and stuff like that. Like what would you even call that? It's like mini crafting.
It was like the pre-Minecraft crafting of like you just take shit that you loot to a person, a leathersmith or whatever, whoever's in town, and they make stuff with it for you, right?
Yeah, and you can craft like magic weapons and staffs and stuff, and that stuff I think is kind of fun. I think Fallout 4, I think it's a good fit for a good crafting system, I would say. I didn't really love it. You do spend so much time just like picking up garbage. I think Ted was talking about it once, and he's like, I just killed this massive deathclaw, and like instead of kind of celebrating my victory, I'm like picking up tin cans next to it. It does kind of, you just kind of get this focus of, instead of the 1,000-yard gaze, you're just looking at every container and box and desk drawer, an inch in front of your nose, and just picking stuff up. So much stuff.
Yeah, tunnel vision for duct tape. Constantly in need of adhesives for whatever guns I'm making. Yeah, that's one of those crafting.
I don't like.
Yeah.
It's just having that tunnel vision. It's just reminding me, because Disney Dreamlight Valley has crafting, has a crafting system in it, and I hate it.
Yep, I hate it so much. I don't like.
Yeah, like because it's so annoying.
Bring your stuff to the menu and then click the buttons to get stuff out. And I'm just like, can we just skip the step? Can I do something else to get the new furniture I want to put in my house?
Yeah, I don't like the crafting system in Disney Dreamlight Valley.
It did remind me because Chris asked, "Is cooking crafting?" And I do actually kind of like the cooking system in Dreamlight Valley. It's not like
Oh yeah, me
super.
too.
It's not like super involved, but I appreciate that you can see a bunch of different items that exist in recipes, and you can sort of guess what might go into them. Like I had to figure out from scratch the recipe for like boba because it was a challenge, and I was like, okay, what's gonna go in boba? And it was like milk and like rice, I think, and then a fruit. And you're like, it's a boba tea. And like, that was neat. I liked that. So I think cooking is crafting in the like the way
Yeah,
we
cooking is
experience it.
crafting. Yeah, I like, and I also quite like the cooking system in Disney Dreamlight Valley. Again, I think it is that little puzzly element to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let me throw a bunch of ingredients into a pot and see if I can get a new recipe. I like it when it's like that, when it's very sort of experimental in how you get new things. But I think when you start tunnel visioning and you're like you're trying to move through the world, but every 2 seconds you're picking something up, that's when it becomes a bit frustrating for me, I guess.
And in Disney, you actually like drag the ingredients like
Into the
from
pot.
into the pot. Anything that adds a little hands-on to it, I think works for me. Like Lauren was saying, when it's just a menu and you click a button that says craft, it's just there's nothing super appealing about it apart from I'm done with this for the moment. But anything that lets that has a little bit of hands-on, that feels more tactile, that makes you feel like the objects and resources are to actually exist as a part, from just a number in a menu.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, like, I didn't play much of Disney, but I did like kind of putting things in the cooking pot. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, you asked what like really good crafting systems are out there, and this is me experiencing recency bias, I think, because there's probably some other good examples, but I think Potion Craft was fantastic.
Yes.
One of the many games of Potion and its name that came out around the same time, but that was the one where you have a cauldron, and you've got like a mortar and pestle, and you've got like water that you pour into your cauldron, and what you do is you take the ingredient out, you throw it in the mortar and pestle, and you click on the pestle and you pick it up and smash it down on your ingredients until they're the exact right amount of smashed that you need for like doing the rest of the mini game. And then you pick it up and you toss it in the pot, and then once you stir the pot the amount that you want by clicking on it, you stir it back and forth, and then you click on the water and you tip it very carefully but not too far, because oh my god, you just ruined it and now you have a level 2 potion instead of a level 3, you dingus. That happened to me. I love that crafting system. Like there's so much to it. It was so good. I never want to be in a menu clicking on things again. Never again. I don't want that kind of crafting.
It's literally,
just don't do crafting.
It's like Cooking Mama. It's like Cooking Mama, but for potions. You have to do everything
Cooking Mama. Right. So is what I want just like a sim? Do I not even want crafting games? I just want crafting simulations, actually. Because I feel like Chris has played some really good cooking games too that maybe elicit that like hands-on quality.
Yeah, I really like that the potion game too. Was very it was very hands-on. It felt like you were actually doing something and mixing things up by hand. That's always a great way to make it feel more like you're participating in the activity instead of just kind of clicking a button. I'm trying to think of other cooking games. You know which had really good cooking? This may sound weird, but No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky has cooking.
It has cooking.
Oh
it's really weird. When I first played No Man's Sky, like I didn't want to do any crafting. I didn't want to like do any gathering. Anything that slowed me down from exploring planets, I was like, I'm not interested. Just leave me alone. I don't even want to put fuel in the engine because that means I have to go shoot a bunch of rocks and combine it with other things. But a few years later, after they added like base building and all these other systems and ground vehicles and stuff, I kind of went back and I was like, well, I've seen all the planets I want to see. Like, what if I just pick a solar system? Like, I found this nice solar system. It had icy planet, and it had like a hot planet, and it had a radioactive planet, and then it had like a paradise planet, which is like super pretty and safe to live on. I was like, what if I just say this is going to be my solar system? I'm going to pretend there's no interstellar travel. I'll just live here and see if that's fun. So I kind of got into the base building, and the crafting was really like super satisfying. Part of it is because the crafting benches, like the extractors and the the processors and the refineries, are all like really well made. They have beautiful lighting effects and sound effects, and you put stuff in and they make all this noise and things spin around inside them. It's really super satisfying to watch. And then they have like a food processor, so you can gather different foods and process them together and make. There's so many different types of meals you can kind of create. And I think the best part is there's a alien chef in the player hub, which is this big like space base. And you can go to this alien chef, and he's like a space Gordon Ramsay. He'll just you give him your meal, and he will just be like, "This is terrible," and he'll just insult like all of your meals. And I just became obsessed. I'm like, I have to gain the approval of this alien. So I would be like, okay, here's some eggs I made. He's like, these are technically eggs. I'm like, damn it. So I'd like go get in my spaceship, fly back down, and I just like became obsessed with like making him a nice meal that he enjoyed. And it was really a lot of fun. And the cooking, there's a lot of different recipes, and it's not just like, oh, add milk. It's like, well, refine milk into this, and then double cook these eggs, and use these bits you get from feeding aliens. If you feed aliens, they'll get little like bumps on their body, and you can harvest the goo off the alien. It's really gross a lot of the time, but super fun, super satisfying. If you want to play a good cooking game, go play No Man's Sky. I think I'm saying it's weird, but trust me, it's super fun. And there's a chef who will insult you. I did eventually make him happy. I think he was really happy with one of my meals. It was great.
What did you finally cook him that he loved?
I don't remember. I believe I wrote about it. It's probably on the website, but I don't know what it was. I can look it up real quick.
That's amazing. I had no idea. Maybe I need to play No Man's Sky. Maybe I need to try and satiate an alien chef. I don't know about cooking and crafting. I don't know about cooking and crafting games, but I have a real love-hate relationship with Don't Starve's crafting system, because oh my god, some of the stuff in that game is so, I think it's just by nature of how like much the game actively hates you anyway. Like some of the stuff in that game is so difficult to get a hold of, and you spend so long like building your little base up, and you're like, oh my god, like I feel like in a lot of crafting games, if you find rare materials or if you go out of your way to get difficult materials, it's like, here's a really cool thing that is yours to keep forever. In Don't Starve, it's like, oh, here's a really cool thing, and then a thunderstorm comes along and lightning hits your base and everything is gone in like 2 seconds. Like, and it's so frustrating. And I kind of like it. I kind of like that the crafting is, it's not the crafting itself, it's more so like the gathering the resources for the crafting. But I haven't played it for a number of years, but I feel like I remember really liking just the different things that you could craft, like the different technologies you could research and go into. But also that game is bullshit. Like it is it hates.
That would make me feel so fatalist. Like, why try? If you're gonna ruin this stuff, I'm not gonna make anything. I'll sit here with my sticks forever. You can't make me craft.
It's a good game though. It's probably one of my favorites. I don't engage a lot with crafting and survival in general, but Don't Starve Together in particular was one that I really had a lot of fun with. Did you find the alien chef, Chris?
I did. I made him something called Pilgrim's Tonic. I don't know what that is. A beverage. I guess he likes drinking.
Damn. Amazing.
You heard it here. I'm just shocked that No Man's Sky is such a decent example of a crafting system, apparently. I would have never known that that's what it became. I mean, I kind of went back and checked in on No Man's Sky a few times, but like, I guess not that part of it.
There are still, I think, there are still some issues. I know the kind of inventory and the control schemes have never, I don't think, been particularly great. But I have really enjoyed some of the crafting stuff and even like the settlement building and base building and yeah, there's so much. They added so much. There's so many different ways to play it now.
Chris, you also had a couple examples of games with like particularly bad crafting. You had some bad students, right?
Yeah, when we kind of were talking about the topic of crafting and how it kind of started seeping into games that didn't need it, I was like trying to think of when that maybe started, because there were a lot of shooters that were getting crafting, like you don't just get a gun. It's like you gotta build a mod or an attachment and gather shards of metal, and there was a while when it was really kind of tacked on to, it felt like everything. And I was trying to think of the first time I really noticed it, and I think it was Far Cry 3. Far Cry 2 was just a straight up open world shooter. If you needed guns, you killed people and found diamonds and bought them. Far Cry 3 was like, oh, there's herbs, by the way, in the world, and there's mushrooms, and you have to craft health kits and potions, and if you want extra stuff, you have to craft it by killing animals and taking their skinning them, which plenty of games have animal skinning and hunting and stuff, and some of them do it well. But Far Cry 3 had this bizarre, nonsensical system. You start with a gun, in a holster, and if you want a second holster so you can have two guns, you have to use a goat skin to craft a holster. So you have to kill a goat. Okay, fine, I'll kill a goat. If you want a third holster, do you kill another goat? No. You need to kill 2 deer. You need 2 deer hide. For some reason, you need an animal much bigger than a goat, and you need 2 of them to craft another holster. And then if you want a fourth holster, you have to kill 2 sharks. And it's just like, you're like, already it's like, wait a minute, why can't I just kill 4 goats? Like, what's the problem here? Why do I need to actually kill and skin 2 entire sharks for a 4th holster? And it was all like that. Like every, if you'd have ammo bags and grenade bags and things like that. And it was always like, if you want a bigger bag, go kill a bigger animal, even though two of the smaller animal would seem like it would be the same thing. But the absolute stupidest part of this was you had a wallet, okay? You could carry $1,000 in cash. If you wanted to carry more cash, which you would need to buy stuff, if you wanted to carry more than $1,000, you'd have to craft a bigger wallet. And so the $2,000, the wallet big enough to carry $2,000 required killing a pig and taking its hide. For $4,000, you'd have to kill 2 cassowaries, which are like big flightless birds. And then you'd have to kill 2 sharks. And then for the biggest wallet that would carry $10,000, you'd have to kill a buffalo. Now, here's the problem. Like, your wallet has to still fit into your pocket. So why, like, how big is my pocket, and why can't I just put cash in my, like, I don't understand the concept of a bigger wallet. I mean, I understand the concept of a bigger wallet holding more cash. I don't understand how big this fucking wallet is that I need to kill an entire buffalo for it. And if I have that much cash, like, it's time to go to the bank and deposit it or bury it. It was just this bizarre. It was the worst. It was the absolute worst and the stupidest.
It sounds amazing in the worst way.
I'm trying to picture this enormous buffalo skin wallet, and the only way I can picture it is like you're carrying it like a backpack or something. Like, why can't I just put money in my pocket? I have a pocket. I have a holster made of shark skin. Can I put a few bills in there?
Oh,
it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous, really tacked on, terrible. And I think I can't remember what the last Far Cry game was like in terms of crafting. I think they toned it down maybe a little. But it was definitely the epitome of like, this does not need to be in this game. You're just trying to think up stuff that will keep me busy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Tacked on. Like, that's the definition of tacked on, because we all see what they're doing there, right? They want you to go kill bigger and bigger things because that's the real meat of the game, is the action combat, right? So go kill the sharks, go kill the bigger animals. But like, why are you shoving it through your crafting system? Come up with any other reason that I need to go kill sharks. I will even take an MMO style, like, go kill 5 wolves. Like, okay, fine, I'll go kill 5 wolves. But like, for my wallet, no, I will not.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's just reminded me as well. Tomb Raider did the same thing when they rebooted the Tomb Raider series. I forget if the first one had crafting. I think it did. I think the first one had like some semblance of crafting, but the game was so linear that I think whatever was in there, it played to its favor. And then the second one Rise of the Tomb Raider? It was, wasn't it? Rise of the Tomb Raider came out and I just hated it. I fucking hated every single second of that game. And I love Tomb Raider. And I just could not with that game because there was so many stupid little systems in it. And I'm almost positive it had a crafting system. This is what I mean. I have to repress any crafting system in a video game that I play. I'm almost positive Rise of the Tomb Raider had one. And I remember it being really annoying. And it really upset my time with the game because, again, you're having to hunt animals and all these stupid things for like trivial upgrades.
Yeah, I think it was like The Witcher 3 maybe, and like Horizon Zero Dawn that in relatively quick succession made me realize both times how much that those games wanted me to look at the ground. They wanted me to be looking at the ground, picking up weeds all the time for making potions in The Witcher's case, and making like bombs and special arrow types, I think, in Horizon Zero Dawn. And I think there was a point at which I was like, especially in Horizon, like, part of the cool action part of that game is when you're like stealthing past something you don't want to fight, or you're like riding along, like riding your mount in both of those games is like fun, just like traversing the world. And the game's like, no, get down on the ground and pick these damn herbs. Like, you're going to need them later. And I'm just, why are you making me do this? I don't feel like RPGs need to have crafting systems all the time. Some of them are good, but a lot of times I'm like, that's not what's cool about an RPG though.
Yeah, it's nice too when it's, maybe it's there, but it's not really necessary toward the way you're playing. I think it's fine if it's, there's herbs and flowers and stuff to pick, but it's like, if you don't want to do that, you can, find other ways to get the stuff you need. I think that's fine. But it does when you want to go out and have an adventure, but you need to find, 3 daffodils first. It can feel like, well, I'm a gardener. I'm not an adventurer.
The rules have changed.
Although I like gardening in games too. Sometimes I'm very happy being a gardener. I think it... That's a good question. No.
Yeah, I think it's its own thing too.
It's farming. Is farming different from crafting?
Yeah.
I guess, sort of, yeah.
I think Stardew Valley games make you farm, but...
Yes. I was going to say, I think Stardew Valley is proof that farming and crafting are 2 different things, because they have both systems in there.
Yes.
They have a crafting system and a farming system. So
farming
they can coexist.
Like the dominant one, but you do sometimes go click in the menu and craft the thing, the stuff in your inventory in that way that we do now. That's my big bugbear with this whole thing. I'm like, never make me craft things in a menu again. I just don't want it. I would just rather you not have crafting, probably, if you're just going to make me click on items in an inventory.
Make me work less for the resource gathering and work harder for the actual making. Like, really challenge my brain. If you want me to craft something, make the actual collecting of stuff to craft with easy. Make the crafting itself a pain in the ass. Let me use my little pea-sized brain.
Yes.
Yeah, in a good way. Let me use my little pea-sized brain and figure out how to build something with the simple few resources I have.
I think something also that can help is when, like, you know, when you maybe start a game with crafting and it's like, okay, I understand I need to start somewhere. I need to start with, you know, gathering wood and rocks and this sort of, you know, entry level crafting activities. But I think something that helps is at some point if you can kind of automate some of that stuff, because, you know, if you're playing some kind of base builder and you've progressed and you've got a base and you've got technology and you've got weapons and vehicles, but still the only way to get wood is to go out and hit a tree with an axe, like you were doing in the very first moments of the game. I think there's something kind of unsatisfying about that. So I do like when there's automation, when you can kind of automate some of the basic stuff. And I don't necessarily mean machines. Like, I think, like, I was playing this little colony sim called Haven Dock, where you build you gather stuff from the ocean, you build a little town, and eventually people start coming to live there, and you can, you know, assign them tasks. You'd be like, well, I'm tired of pumping up seawater and carrying it over to the, to the purifier. So you assign someone to do that. You assign someone to gather sand and someone to, you know, even use the crafting stations. And I think that's nice because I'm still doing lots of crafting in it, but I'm not doing the basic entry level stuff anymore. That's all being handled by, you know, in this case, little people. But it's nice when and Sons of the Forest, speaking of crafting, which is, oh gosh, it might be out by the time this podcast goes up, but you have an AI controlled person with you, and you can assign them to do stuff like gathering sticks and doing some of the basic chores. So I think that's nice. I think it feels nice to leave behind, you know, some of the really basic, repetitive, not at all fun stuff. So I think that's an important part of a crafting system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like if you've ever had a job and you've gotten a promotion, but you're still expected to do all the stuff you were doing before the promotion.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, no. You promoted me. I don't have to do the basic stuff anymore.
I don't have to pick up sticks off the ground anymore. That's not my job.
Hire an intern. Get an intern to do that stuff.
Chris, you asked what item we thought we could craft in real life. And I didn't have like a great answer, but you go ahead.
Oh, me? Oh, no. Nothing. I can do stuff in games. You need a bow and arrow? I will get a bow and arrow. In the woods by myself, I would be dead, I would say, within minutes. Yeah. No, I can't. I could pick up a stick and a rock. I could not combine them into something else. I don't understand how that happens. In games, it's like plant fiber. Go get plant fiber. I don't know what plant fiber is. What is plant fiber? You know, when I do it in a game, it's like I see my hand like tearing a bush out of the ground. I would just have a bunch of parts of a bush. I couldn't make an axe or a rope. Like, yeah, no, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't make clothing. Here's what I could do. I could take a rock and I could bang it against another rock, and maybe one of the rocks would break, and then I would give up and perish. So, what about you, Lauren? What can you make? What could you craft? You're in the woods. You've got to craft something. What can you craft?
So, I saw a video recently of someone like actually crafting like an obsidian glass knife or something like that, and it involved like hitting this piece of like very shiny black ore with like another special little like rock and whatnot, and they like slowly shaped it into this thing that was a dagger. And I realized I couldn't do that for sure. But I was trying to come up with like anything, and I was thinking about Minecraft, and I was like, I don't know. I have a friend who's learning to like bind books, which takes like that comes after the process of in Minecraft you have to have leather for the outside of the book, and like Chris said, you have to have like the plant fibers or whatever to turn into your paper. I'm not 100% confident I could do either of those things, but I feel like maybe you could assemble a book and quill like is in Minecraft. Maybe I could eventually pull that off given enough time in the woods.
Just a nice book. Why not? I mean, I don't know about me. I think I could maybe make a nice daisy chain. And like if there's like a sanity meter, then you know that may be like just a moment of happiness. I remember being in the woods with an old boyfriend of mine many years ago. We'd gone camping and he was like smashing a rock against a tree, like Rust style, to see if it actually worked. And no, it did not work. It did absolutely nothing. So I think like I'm useless enough when I'm in my home comfort. Like if I can't find like the remote for the TV or just like a pen, I melt. Like I just become like I cannot function as a human. So I don't think I would do very well in the woods. I think I would eat a berry and then I would pick the wrong berry. I'd pick like the super poisonous, dangerous one, and I would just die immediately.
But you could do a daisy chain.
Yeah.
But I would do a daisy chain, and if there was a sanity meter, it would go up ever so slightly.
If there is a gear set and there is a slot for a headgear item, that is where a daisy chain goes. You've successfully crafted a piece of gear in my mind.
I'm better than all of you.
But
also, I just realized even if I did craft a bow and arrow, like I couldn't shoot like a rabbit. I would just cry and let the rabbit go. I definitely, there wouldn't be really much point in me crafting, a bow and arrow or a spear, because I would just be like, I can't hurt a squirrel. They're so cute.
We would have been terrible cave people.
Yeah,
truly terrible.
Instantly dead.
Okay, so takeaway is we want less menus in our crafting, more puzzles, more making us think. And stop making us pick up junk all the time. Please, stop making me pick up junk, right?
No junk.
Is that where we've landed? Also, cooking is crafting, right?
Cooking is crafting. Cooking is perhaps the most fun form of crafting.
And farming is not, yes.
Right.
Those are separate activities. Good job, guys. We solved crafting games. Now, the new era of crafting games can begin. Let's put it all behind us. And now I would like everyone to continue forward with this new blueprint for what we three personally would like from crafting games.
Yes.
Thank you.
2024, you will be seeing crafting games with our specific demands. And you can thank us for it.
It's all potion craft from here on out. All potion craft forward. I've decided.